Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jerry Stephanitsis, joined as always by JD Kenzan, and we're about to see a battle of two of the largest men here in VCW, the Barbarian and the Demon of Destruction, Dorian Deville, who's seconded out there by not only Pat Anderson, but I guess thirded by Spencer Chestnut.
A tertiary arrangement here. Actually, I would think that Spencer Chestnut, being the main man behind Anderson Chestnut Associates, he just lets Anderson be in the name first because of alphabetical order. Spencer's the figurehead behind all of this, I know.
Well, it's definitely not because he's a gracious individual. We've certainly come to learn that about Spencer Chestnut over the years.
He's a great friend of mine. He handles all my legal briefs.
And I think that should be self-explanatory as Dorian Deville and the Barbarian are sizing each other up here. And as I stated before now, both of these men almost 7 feet tall, both of them well over 300 pounds. I mean, this is going to be a battle of sheer might in this matchup here.
And Dorian Deville does have the edge in the furry boots category, while the Barbarian has, his hair, in the mohawk. Dorian Deville not exactly well haired here. It's fashion central here at VCW.
The Barbarian definitely has a crowd advantage, as you can tell there by the reaction that Dorian Deville received. And listen to the reaction for the Barbarian.
You can't take the fans' cheers to the bank, and Spencer Chestnut doesn't get paid in cheers. Have you ever tried to pay him in cheers? He just looks at you and screams at you.
I wouldn't pay.
Calls you a jerk.
I wouldn't pay Chestnut to wash my car, to be quite honest with you.
Well, as evidenced by how dirty your car is, you cheapskate.
That's neither here nor there. As Dorian Deville becoming frustrated, I guess it's a somewhat of mind games in the early goings here in this matchup. I almost feel bad for referee Mike Valentine here because of having to keep these two competitors under control. This match could get out of hand rather quickly, and who's going to stop it?
Certainly not me. I think we can call in police, perhaps, or the nearby National Guard, or somewhere around that region. Because look at this man. Look at Dorian Deville. 310 pounds of sheer power. The Barbarian, he's had his time in the sun, he's had his runs, but Dorian Deville, I think, is going to be the man that overtakes the Barbarian as the premier big man here in VCW.
Well, you're certainly right about Dorian Deville having a lot of potential. I mean, when the bell rings, he's like an animal in there, and you see now he complaining about a hair pull.
Well, one thing about Dorian Deville is he's not the most mentally stable individual in the world. I mean, you don't come down to the ring barking at fans.
Really, you think?
I don't know. I'm scared to talk to the man, quite frankly.
Well, yeah, but you buddy up with Spencer Chestnut all the time.
Spencer's my lawyer.
I'm sure he's giving you some sort of information on this guy. I mean,
he definitely has. He told me that Dorian Deville, his favorite food, you know what it is? Raw meat. That's the kind of guy that can take out a man like the Barbarian.
Look at strength there of Dorian Deville shoving the Barbarian back into the corner.
Yep.
And now flexing at the expense of the Barbarian.
You've got to have some strength to shove a man like the Barbarian around. The Barbarian's no pushover, and Dorian Deville just pushed him over. So I'm pretty impressed by what Dorian Deville has been able to do thus far. This is his biggest test here in VCW thus far.
Oh, and look again, the strength of Dorian Deville sending the Barbarian crashing back. I think the Barbarian is a little surprised here at the might of this behemoth.
Now, speaking as a former big man myself, I used to be 6'6" before that horrible surgery that shortened my legs. What I used to do was I used to shove people like the Barbarian around all the time. You get that height advantage, you get that weight advantage. You just shove them around. It's not that much of a problem. And the Barbarian, if you shove Dorian Deville around, he's not too happy about that right now.
Well, the Barbarian just shoved Dorian Deville back into the corner and responded there. I don't think he's going to take this lying down. And let me just ask you, do you expect anyone to believe the things that you say on the headset sometimes?
I don't have to prove anything to anybody.
Hip toss by the Barbarian. Nice maneuver there, and a scoop slam. What strength displayed, and Dorian Deville rolling out of the ring, going to catch a breather.
That's exactly what you should do in that situation. If your opponent starts to gain any kind of the advantage, especially if your opponent is the Barbarian, you got to get back, take a breather. You've got two guys out there to corner you. Get some advice from Spencer Chestnut and Pat Anderson. I mean, Pat Anderson's a former NWA World Tag Team Champion. What have you ever done aside from sit around in your room playing video games all day?
I mean, I'm not out there. I'm not trying to manage somebody.
I'm just saying, who are you to make judgments of Dorian Deville?
I'm a commentator.
The man's favorite food is raw meat. How can you judge this man?
Look at this. He's trying to get in fights with the fans here at ringside as well. Like I said, he's an uncontrollable force. We've seen Dorian Deville wreck through VCW and take out veterans like Mark Anthony, who he pretty much crushed Mark Anthony in a matchup recently here in VCW. And Mark Anthony's no slouch. He's a big guy as well.
Former tag team champion, too.
That's right.
And now Dorian Deville choked away the Barbarian on the ropes. So you can be a Barbarian if you want, but it's hard to Barbarian people if you can't breathe.
You got that one? The
Barbarian. I don't know. What do you call the actions of barbarism? Barbarism, that's what it is.
The Barbarian.
Not to be confused.
Barbarism. The Barbarian off the ropes, and here he comes back, chops across the back there of Dorian Deville, and a huge headbutt sends Dorian Deville all the way out to the floor. Oh my goodness.
Well, one would think that the Barbarian, after he had his skull surgically replaced with a coconut, is certainly the most dangerous headbutter here in VCW. You cannot headbutt with the Barbarian. It's just too dangerous.
I haven't heard that one.
Well, I read it on the internet, and nothing on the internet is false.
No, that's what they say. Everything is truthful. And now you see Dorian Deville looking frustrated, and as you stated before, you see Spencer Chestnut and Pat Anderson both trying to calm him down, trying to make sure he stays on his game plan, which, as you can imagine, I mean, because Dorian Deville has a little bit of a size advantage over the Barbarian as far as the height goes, so they may be wanting to slow it down.
Eye rake there by the Barbarian.
Oh, and a chop across the chest as well. The Barbarian taking it to Dorian Deville, throws him back into the corner by the throat, and now he's choking away.
Normally one would complain about the illegal tactics being used by the Barbarian, but the man's name is the Barbarian. You expect these sorts of things.
Exactly right. Snapmares him over, raking the boot across the eyes of Dorian Deville. This match is not going to be pretty, ladies and gentlemen. As far as, the Barbarian drive in the elbow right across the neck. 2 count, and Dorian Deville kicks out.
Barbarian put all 300 pounds he had behind that elbow drop and was not able to get the cover out of it, or the fall out of it. But now he's going to try for a half Boston Crab, it appears.
Look at this. The Barbarian cinching it in, putting all of his weight on the lower back here. Dorian Deville trying to reach out for that bottom rope, and here comes Pat Anderson up onto the ring apron.
He's probably telling some secrets to Mike Valentine about the times when he and C.W. Anderson were tag team champions.
Right. Pat Anderson is distracting the Barbarian, and Dorian Deville levels him with a clothesline. The Barbarian down to the canvas, and now putting the boots to it.
And you notice the Barbarian's holding his elbow, and Dorian Deville being very smart to attack that elbow. But the Barbarian's not the kind of wrestler you can just easily injure, so anytime he's showing outward sides of pain, you have to take it to him. You have to go after the area he is hurt.
And as we stated before, as far as the relentlessness of Dorian Deville, you can see as he's doing it there. And Pat Anderson on the outside, come on. Pat Anderson dropping the elbows across the throat of the Barbarian when he's already down.
Yeah, well, don't you know, being a former NWA Tag Team Champion, it entitles you to certain rights and privileges, like elbowing Barbarians in the throat.
It does not.
It certainly does. Haven't you read the NWA bylaws?
Well, some of them. Cliff Notes I've read.
Well, that's one of the things. If you ever see a Barbarian around, you elbow him in the throat.
Look, here he comes off an elbow again by Pat Anderson across the back of the neck this time.
I think I may have misread it. Maybe it's elbows in the general skull and torso area are perfectly legal if you're a former NWA tag team.
I need to ask this as well. Spencer Chestnut's walking around the outside with this huge metal briefcase. What could he possibly need that for while standing ringside?
Important documents.
What kind of important documents? What important documents must he keep on his person while out there managing a matchup?
You never know when you might want to sign someone to a contract. Perhaps some subpoenas that he might have to deliver. He functions as his own proctor. And there you see, and speaking of functioning, there's Dorian Deville functioning with a abdominal stretch.
And Pat Anderson reaching in once again now. This is basically a glorified handicap match, as Pat Anderson was helping Dorian Deville with some illegal leverage.
Well, the Barbarian should have brought the Warlord and Haku out to help him if he wanted to counteract the wonderful and brilliant advisors that Dorian Deville has hooked up with. That's the sign of a champion right there, when you have a lot of advisors to come out and help you.
I would pay to see a 6-man tag between Anderson, Chestnut, Dorian Deville, and the other 3 gentlemen you just listed a moment ago. As now the Barbarian, hip toss, takes down Dorian Deville. Finally, Pat Anderson's influence on the outside was to no avail, but you see the Barbarian still reeling from the effects from earlier on in the matchup. Dorian Deville sending him off now and locking in a sleeper hold. As I stated earlier, or as I was beginning to state earlier, Dorian Deville has a little bit of a height advantage. He's using that leverage to his advantage right now to lock in that sleeper hold and put all that weight on the neck of the Barbarian and trying to put him out.
He's using his torso to try and force the Barbarian's chin and neck area into his arm. That's going to cause the carotid artery, the blood flow in the brain, to stop working there. And I don't know if the Barbarian uses too much of his brain to start with, what with his constant propensity for headbutting people. But, you know, one would think that if you can't get the blood to your brain, you're going to go down.
There goes
Come on.
Almost went down for the third time, but the Barbarian is still hanging in there. Dorian Deville trying to keep the hold locked on, but the Barbarian getting back up to his feet. He's got him hooked. Suplexing Dorian Deville down to the canvas. Desperation attempt there by the Barbarian, but will it pay off?
Well, we don't know quite yet. Both men are down. Mike Valentine could easily count both men out. You know, Dorian Deville, one of the problems when you're 310 pounds, if you get suplexed on the back of your head like that, that's 310 pounds folding you in half.
Both men trying to work their way back up to the feet. And Dorian Deville again, the Barbarian was going for a double axe handle, it looked like, and Dorian Deville caught him in a bear hug.
A rookie mistake by a veteran like the Barbarian. You never want to let your opponent know what you're about to do. And he had his arms up there for way too long. Dorian Deville very smartly applying the bear hug, working over the rib cage and the kidneys of the Barbarian.
Well, you know, all this outside interference by Pat Anderson, obviously the distractionary effect that Spencer Chestnut has by being out there, it's really gotten the Barbarian off of his game plan, and it's allowed Dorian Deville to take the advantage on numerous occasions, and he's really just wearing down the Barbarian. This might be it now. He might have him with this bear hug. Will it drop the third time? No, again, the Barbarian still hanging in there. The Barbarian trying to power up, this crowd trying to will him back into this matchup as the Barbarian firing away a few times. And Dorian Deville with a spinning back elbow. And now bouncing off the ropes, rebounding with an elbow drop. He's back up again. Look at this. Another one. Cover.
Those elbows were pretty fierce.
2 count. But he didn't have enough weight on the shoulders. The Barbarian able to get that right shoulder up.
Well, if you got elbow dropped by Dorian Deville, you know, a whole bunch of times, you might go out. And it's possible Dorian Deville just thought, you know, he was working with you in there. You both have similarly awful haircuts.
I don't think anyone will confuse me for the Barbarian.
Well, if they were simply looking at your hair, it perhaps would confuse you too.
I don't think so. And now the Barbarian once again trapped in this brutal bear hug. And you've seen Pat Anderson and Chestnut both shouting words of encouragement or words of advice, I guess, out there.
Wait a second, he's biting him.
That's right, the Barbarian trying to bite his way out of this maneuver, and it worked. And you really can't blame the Barbarian at this stage in the matchup. And now the Barbarian chopping away in the corner on Dorian Deville. He's got him. And the Barbarian firing away as this crowd counts along with him. Pummeling Dorian Deville in the corner.
Both men look like they're rocked right now. Barbarian's absorbed a lot of punishment. Dorian Deville counters the whip, sending the
a counter again by the Barbarian. The Barbarian sends him off. And here we go, huge back body drop on Dorian Deville.
Dorian Deville is not used to being dropped from such a high altitude.
And Pat Anderson again. Now the Barbarian's finally gotten his hands on Pat Anderson.
Well, you know, when you're a former NWA tag champion, you're allowed to be up there.
But Dorian Deville charges at the Barbarian and misses and takes out Pat Anderson.
Poor Pat Anderson. All he was trying to do was help his charge.
He was not. He was trying to help illegally. That's not legal.
Sage words of advice.
There's the kick of fear by the Barbarian, and Dorian Deville is unconscious. That's going to be the end of the matchup. But wait, he's hooking him up here now.
Stranglehold Omega there by the Barbarian. He's trying to get Dorian Deville to submit.
That's going to be the end of the matchup. And now Dorian Deville is submitting. He's submitting, but Pat Anderson's got the referee's distraction, and Chestnut's using that legal briefcase all across the head.
And you just said it was legal, so I don't want to hear you complaining.
You know what I mean. Legal as in like legalities, not legal as in legal in the match. That was an illegal maneuver. Don't tell me that Dorian Deville is going to steal this one. Dorian Deville just pinned the Barbarian.
And there you see it right there. That briefcase, which you said was legal, was the route to victory.
Spencer Chestnut so proud of himself. I can't believe this. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the matchup is Dorian Deville by hook or by crook.